Hello and welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to teach federal government customers how to get the most out of ServiceNow. As technology partners with ServiceNow, we see the real business value in leveraging the additional capabilities in that cloud platform. I'm Christopher Morgan from Stave, and I'm joined by my colleague Zaid Omar and Sean Lingo from Cask. Sean, can you tell us a little bit about Cask and what you do for your customers?
Absolutely. Thanks for the invite, Chris. So Cask, we're a ServiceNow integrator, specifically working in the federal space, supporting our civilian and DoD market space there. One of the things for Cask, for our customers, we are a full solutions integrator. We provide a lot of the upfront business process work as well as the full technical scope of what can be done on the ServiceNow platform.
And we've taken the time and did some research, and we've teamed with Cask because they really are the ServiceNow experts in the federal space. And it's a really great partnership for us because Stave has the expertise in building software that runs on the ServiceNow platform. So it's really been a great partnership. Sean, just to kind of start in on some questions if you're ready. ServiceNow really is relatively new in the federal space. What kind of growth have you seen in the past couple of years, and where do you see it going from here?
Absolutely, that's a great question. So one of the things that the federal government has finally figured out is what our commercial friends have known for many years now, the power of the ServiceNow platform. So over the last couple of years, we've seen some exponential growth just in leveraging that commercial expertise that the government is actually chartered to do, but they're really starting to pull it in. So it kind of first started off in the civilian space and has now jumped over into the DoD side. But for them, they're seeing with some of the initiatives they have around legacy systems that there is a platform that's out there that has been already battle tested within the commercial space that they can now begin to harness and leverage on the government side. And for us, again, we're really starting to see it take off in a way that we hadn't seen, I would say, probably up until about the last 18 months. And part of that is just with any type of new technology, there's always skepticism in the federal space. But once a few folks get it in and a few CIOs, it begins to kind of spread word of mouth. And one of the other things for ServiceNow has been that they've begun to really put a strong and aggressive push in understanding the federal market space. And with that has also come the partners like us that understand this platform and are beginning to leverage our expertise in the federal space as well.
Now, a lot of customers, commercial or federal, generally start with ServiceNow in the IT space. Right. They use the IT applications, incident management, asset management, project management, the help desk, the service desk, the ITSM. For the federal customers, are you seeing ServiceNow usage beyond IT?
Absolutely. In fact, and that's a great point, Chris, that you bring up. That's typically an initial entry point for a lot of opportunities. But as you see different agencies and services begin to pick this up, they're really understanding the power of the platform and how it really can transcend outside the IT department. You've got a CIO who initially probably is the linchpin to bring it in, but as it starts to permeate outside of IT and across the entire enterprise, you're picking up the other folks within security, within GRC around risk, and some of those other places, even within the financial office around ITFM, where they're beginning to grab and really understand. One of the opportunities that we're working with right now with the federal customer is really around facilities, and we're seeing that begin to take off. So for us, they've gotten in the ground floor, and now it's beginning to bubble up outside of the IT department, and we're excited about that because it really allows us to, once you've kind of landed into a specific agency or service, you're able to tell that story across the board and around outside of the IT shop.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot internally, and I think that's the real power of ServiceNow as a platform, because you get this secure cloud tool that helps you build data-centric applications. And Absolutely. It might be flavored for IT, but it doesn't have to be.
That's right.
And you inherit all the workflows, the notifications, the lists, the reports, the security aspect, the notifications. It's all packaged into that. What about challenges, though? What challenges are unique to the federal space
Absolutely.
do you see?
Absolutely.
And how does Cask solve those
Certainly,
challenges?
Certainly. So as with any foray, as you bring something that's a commercially accepted platform into the federal space, there's always that initial skepticism as anything comes in as a commercial item. And certainly that's been there. But when push comes to shove, one of the things that we offer at Cask is we've got a very robust organizational change management piece of our delivery process. So we bring that in and provide that as part of our federal solution when we're working with our customers and helping them really understand, hey, we're not just coming in and getting rid of something that you've used for decades. We're actually coming in and we're going to help you really get through this around the business process piece as well as the technical piece. And it's really, again, a part of our full delivery management around our solutions. So looking at that as kind of one issue of just the pushback and the no that comes with a lot of engagements in the federal space. Another challenge that we see is really around the acquisition and procurement process. That's one that it's kind of notoriously been an issue for any type of new IT, and really that kind of grows across the board. It's not a respecter of persons in the civilian or within the DoD space. Most of you out there watching know what that three-letter word is, the FAR, that governs the way we do things. But with the challenge that obviously provides, we've found some ways in which to really kind of push through that, and part of it has been ServiceNow has begin to understand the federal space, and certainly with them working through partners who understand the federal space, have already been there, have vehicles, have the procurement and acquisition prowess to be able to help navigate through those waters. It's really set up an opportunity to not see your traditional larger 9 to 12 month halt times around acquisition to get new technology in. As we know, with a lot of buys that happen just around a lot of our day-to-day items that like laptops and so forth, there's a quicker mechanism to do those things. And I think as we continue to see SaaS take off in the federal space, we're going to see that procurement lead time and cycle get even more, get quicker with each passing year.
So how much custom development are you seeing being done in ServiceNow? So adding on capabilities, maybe consolidating.
We are seeing, and I think it goes really. It's a good foray into one of the earlier questions you talked about. It enters in through the IT space and then begins to permeate and kind of go out into the rest of the enterprise, and that's where a lot of the applications coming in. When you start looking at facilities applications and GRC applications, security applications that can really come in and be instantaneous benefit for an agency or a service. They're really leveraging that. And so really, for us, we look at some of the standard configuration that happens. That's not what we really look at as development. For us, we really look at those applications that really go on top of the platform and allow an agency to take a real step in a direction that gets them out of the legacy systems that they've been directed to get out from underneath, but getting that base ServiceNow platform online and up and running within their agency or service, and then bringing on those value-added applications in the development that comes with that. It's transcending really the federal government and helping them move forward into the 21st century around IT, which they've been charged to do by Congress and have been given in the budget to do that as well.
And you would say a huge benefit of that is they're seeing substantial lower rates over time. Wouldn't you say so?
Absolutely. That right there. I mean, that's a huge point. As we think about all of us, we're all taxpayers, and we're looking at the government to be effective and efficient with taxpayer dollars. So when Congress comes out with those initiatives to really, hey, we need to look at these 2-3 decade old legacy systems that we have, and you've got a solution around ServiceNow with a platform that you can come in, you can do the development at a substantially lower cost. We talked about the acquisition lead time being a little bit of a challenge. That's coming. It's getting there through partners like us, as well as ServiceNow's prowess and understanding the federal space. You've got a solution that's beginning to really bubble up. We've already, there's a lot of documented successes out there, but with each passing year, that curve, it gets a little less steep, and we're seeing a lot of successes around that. But that, to your point, Zaid, the cost savings that it is for the government to IT departments that are already strapped financially, and then really being able to pass that savings on from a congressional standpoint to the taxpayer, that's a great story to tell.
So with the ServiceNow Store now open to federal customers,
yes.
The ServiceNow Store where you can download the apps has been available in the commercial space for a few years now, but it's now open to the federal customers. What advantages would a federal customer see?
We're super excited about the federal store. For us, knowing and playing in the commercial space and knowing that that's been out there, that's something that commercial entities have been able to take advantage of for several years. Going back to the procurement challenges, now that the federal store is open, for those that are in the federal space, typically, again, governed by the acquisition process with the FAR, applications are not, we talk about the cost savings, they're not a costly item to be able to pick up. So it now gives you the ability to not go through all the security, all of the networking wickets that you would have to. You can go directly to the store, buy applications in a quick, convenient, time-saving way. I mean, literally within minutes, you can bring the application onto your existing platform without going through all the other pieces that if you were to go out on your legacy system, and you don't have the ability to do that. So with the ServiceNow Store, coupled with the platform that's already online in an agency or service, you have completely streamlined the acquisition process. You streamlined the security and the networking process, which you get a thumbs up from your IA and your IT folks that are in the back shop. And you've been able to bring to bear an application that's going to help actually provide real value and drive value within your organization. So we're out there actively pressing the ServiceNow Store and utilizing that as really a value-added point to talk to our customers about how they can see quick wins and be able to provide value for their department right out of the gate.
Yeah, that's good to hear, because that's our focus.
Mm-hmm.
We've got more applications in the ServiceNow Store than anyone, and our model is to have this business software that is one or two steps away from IT.
Absolutely.
Because that's really what our focus is. I mean, we have the applications to help organizations manage facilities, and even one for the FTAR process that you kind of alluded to.
Yeah.
So we're, of course, very excited about that. And what really kind of to walk through today is how to do that. How to go into the ServiceNow Store to try an application free for a period of time, either in your sub-production instance or in a standalone sandbox instance, and then really some key points to hit home on why this is the model, the app model, this platform model for enterprise software, I think is the way forward.
Absolutely.
I agree. So let's jump into this presentation and go into the demo. I think the problem we have a lot in IT is that we try to do great things for the organization and make everything work better, but we run into these hurdles and challenges. So every time we find a great new solution to implement, we have to go through RFPs and demos and procurement and selection committees and approval chains, and that's not fun. That's not why we got into IT. We got into IT to play with cool modern technology and improve things with it, but having to deal with this approach to systems architecture is frustrating. And I think Sean and Zaid, you definitely relate and agree. And that's just getting the stuff in. Once it's in, we're expected to learn all these systems and keep them running and document them and train the users and keep the users running. And it's a frustrating, challenging job. And that's really, I think, the solution that the whole platform model for software development solves. So once you get a system in, you can add new features that the organization needs over time or all at once. And since you already know the core system, training, documentation, maintenance, and support, they're much easier because you already know it. Sean, if you think about, back in the day, the Nintendo system you had growing up, it's the same thing. You bought the Nintendo console and it came with Super Mario and Duck Hunt as games, as the core platform features. Now, you could go buy Zelda and Metroid from Nintendo for different gaming experience, and you could also buy Contra and Battletoads and NBA Jam from third-party specialists. Same console, but with the ability and capability to support vastly different needs. Very different games, they're very different functions that we're running on the same platform. It's the same model with this software platform here. So, this is a Rube Goldberg device, and what I wanted to show here is just how you've got these legacy systems that might be custom, they might be 10, 20, 30 years old, and they're trying to play nice together. I mean, are you seeing that either on the Cask side or in the ServiceNow side?
Absolutely, and we talked about it, at the beginning of the webinar, just around the fact that in the federal space, it's been decade upon decade of these systems that have been built on top of each other. We kind of moved around and said how ServiceNow can come in and really be the platform of choice to really help be transformational across the board in the federal space. And then you start talking about applications and the modernization and rationalization that comes with that within the IT space. That is such a great depiction of that, in that you've had this just built on top of each other, and the federal government has finally realized, hey, we've got to deconstruct this. But what are the solutions to really help us with ease of transfer of this? Everything from procurement challenges and all those things that we talked about. But I think if I could take that slide in with me to many an IT shop and talk to CIOs, I think they would they'd be in the meeting shaking their head over and over again.
Good to hear. Even though most organizations, especially in the federal space, originally got ServiceNow to do IT stuff, such as service desk, asset management, project management, change management, the ServiceNow is truly a platform at heart. You can peel back the hood of this thing and really configure it. This is an architectural diagram, probably made by a marketing person, of ServiceNow. So when we talk about the platform, you see at the very bottom here things like the chat, the live feed, the reporting, the form designers, the Google Maps, the REST and SOAP APIs, and the cloud infrastructure and security, and then what's built on top of that. So, ServiceNow has their applications generally around IT, but when we talk about adding in the apps, it's literally sitting on top of that platform and adding new blocks, adding additional capabilities. Does this story resonate with the federal customers today?
It absolutely does. And for us, as we go into a lot of IT shops, they've got custom applications that are specific to what they're doing. And as we look at the ServiceNow platform and understand the ease of what a company like Stave could put together from an application or from a development standpoint, we know that really no two agencies are alike. They are all under the umbrella of the federal government, but for them, there is a tremendous need for things that are specific to what they're doing. And with the ease of the platform and having the expertise that somebody like Stave would have, we would bring Stave in with us around a solution at Cask to be able to come in and provide that value that was specific to that particular customer. And it may be one where Stave already has an existing apps, like say around security or around facilities, but it's something that would maybe be specific to a customer that maybe was operating in a defense situation, or maybe somebody that was operating in a more of a financial perspective, or maybe somebody that was dealing with something that was maybe in an international space, but again, all under the guise of the federal government. We believe that those are the type of applications that provide tremendous value on top of the ease of the platform, and it actually could, in some cases, act as an entry point for us to have that larger discussion with the IT shop.
So what are the advantages to adding on? We talked about this in the discussion, and Sean, you had some really great points. But number one, leverage your investment. You've already made the investment in ServiceNow Platform. You can have it to do more. You consolidate systems. Number two, it's cheaper because you have to document fewer systems, support fewer systems, train people on fewer systems, have renewals on fewer systems, and it really helps consolidate. The classic business case here is Southwest Airlines only flies 737s. They don't have to worry about different type of aircraft. They don't need mechanics that are specialized in anything but 737s. They don't need spare parts for anything but 737s, and they're able to scale and reduce their costs dramatically. You can meet the user expectations like we talked about earlier. People already know the base system. You already know how to use the controller, to our Nintendo analogy, and users are going to be immediately familiar. The security and data protection is huge in a lot of circles because it's covered. You've got the single throat to choke, the single chest to poke for those security things that are covered by the main platform vendor. They secure all that for you. The immediate value, you can turn on additional capabilities and have it have it now, have it immediately. There's no wait, there's no procurement lag, there's no development time. It's there, it's ready to go, and you know your budget. Everything's transparent. Everything is got a price tag on it up front. You know exactly what to expect, and you can stay on budget. You might ask, well, we're doing a lot of this today with custom development on ServiceNow. I know in the federal space, a lot of the customers have done some custom development to their instances. So they hire developers or they hire a systems integrator to build something custom for us. Now, what's the difference? Well, you're right, it's similar. But just as the software industry evolved from custom devs being done on mainframes to desktop computers running DOS that you purchase shrink wrap software for, ServiceNow has evolved the same way, and there are advantages to the certified app model compared to the custom development model. The crux really involves the stuff that isn't fun for us, like the training and maintenance and documentation. That's all handled with the certified app model. And there's some big technical advantage too, like the managed upgrades. So I'll show you in a second how you as an admin of a ServiceNow instance can control when a third-party app is upgraded and also revert to older versions or pick an older version. The certification covers your butt, essentially. You know the app is not going to break anything else in your instance. It's not going to wreck something in a Rube Goldberg environment because it is designed and certified to work with everything else nicely. That dovetails in with the private namespace, so an app's data can't leak outside its space in an instance. That's huge for security. The platform version support, so as you change and upgrade your ServiceNow release from Istanbul to Helsinki to Kingston, whatever, the apps are certified in tandem with them to make sure that even with platform changes, things work together. You've got release governance control. Again, that goes back to being able to install the app or upgrade the app when you want it and have process around it. You still get all the cool platform tools of ServiceNow. You can actually configure a lot of these applications, add fields, change the lists just as you can with the rest of ServiceNow to further configure things that you might need. The procurement is centralized. There's one place to go. It's a store. You're already covered under the ServiceNow Master Service Agreements. And the vendors support you with these apps because they're required to as part of the certification process and their agreement with ServiceNow. So you're covered there. So it goes to the question we're really asking, how do we go further, faster with ServiceNow and the store? So let's jump in and see it live, guys. So as a ServiceNow user, how do we get to the store? How do we get to see these apps, and how is the shopping experience? So there's really two ways to get there. We can go to the store directly in a web browser. We can go right from the instance. I'm in an Istanbul instance. So Istanbul and later allows you to do that. If I just search for the store, it's going to bring up the option here for me to search the store. And that's really just going to open up a new tab that takes me directly to the store. Again, I could have opened up a tab myself, typed in store, that's servicenow.com. But this is the store. This allows me to see all the different apps that are available. I can filter on the left by the type of application, by the release of the instance that I have, if they're free or paid, or a category or industry. But I can just scroll down and see the different offerings that the different vendors have. This is another offering from Stave in our case for portal development. And we've got a nice landing page, and we're able to request a demo. So actually what I'm able to do from here is request a demo, and this is going to have me log into Hi, and this will spin up a separate sandbox instance. I'll then get an email. It takes a couple hours with the credentials and the link to that demo instance, but it's a separate standalone instance that's going to have the application in it. It's going to spin up an instance that looks conspicuously like this. This is the one that we've built out. So this is the Stave demo instance here. Other vendors may vary, but from here you're able to get to all the various applications that we have available, including that widget showcase application that we just looked at the store listing for. Now, if I were a customer of ServiceNow, I'm a vendor, so I don't have the right role, but if I were a customer, directly underneath Contact Accelerator, I'd also see a try button. The try button allows you to install an app in your sub-production instance. So not in production, you can't use it in the real world, but you can have it in your sub-production instance and use it with your real data. Once you install the application, either from purchasing it or doing the try, you get an entitlement to it, which means that your instance has the right to install it. And if I go back to my instance now, and just as a shortcut, I'm going to type in system applications. And I'm going to go into the applications module here, and this is going to show me all the store applications that I have entitlements for underneath the Downloads tab in the middle. So we can see the application that I have. At this point, I can install it. I can see the different versions, and I can even install with demo data. So because I have the entitlement to this particular application here, I can install a previous version that's all been certified, the latest version, or install it with demo data. Now when a next version comes out from the vendor, I'm going to see that available on the Updates tab at the top here. And I, as the administrator of this instance, always have the right to be able to install the application that's been certified on my timeline, not on the vendor's timeline, which is a very nice feature from a customer site, from a customer perspective. And that's really as simple as it is to go to the store, search for the applications that add new capabilities and functions to the ServiceNow instance that you have, get your entitlements simply with logging into the High account, and then installing them in the instance. So this is quite simple. I think we're all familiar with app stores, and the experience is exactly like you'd expect from any sort of modern app store available today. So that's really how simple it is to install an application from the ServiceNow Store and get the capabilities in your instance right away. I think everyone knows what an app store is, and now the story is about how do we deploy these apps and what are the apps that are really going to provide value in the federal space. And that's the story that we're going to be telling over the next couple weeks, months, and years with ServiceNow.
So Sean, in the federal government, there's a lot of different deployments, meaning on-prem versus cloud deployments. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Absolutely, and a lot of that goes back to just the security parameters that we have in the federal space these days. Certainly that is one of the things that when we talk to CIOs, that keeps them up at night. So as they're looking at their IT infrastructure and the architecture that they have, ServiceNow obviously is one that has tremendous versatility. And as we talked about earlier, the ease of being able to bring applications on as well, that's a huge value-added selling point to any CIO shop. So as we look at cloud deployments and on-prem deployments, we see a fair amount of both. And it wouldn't be right for me to sit here and tell you that there's a specific, tailored agency or service that it's always going to go this way. Mm-hmm. In some cases, it just really depends on what you're supporting and so forth. But again, the beauty with ServiceNow, you can operate and put the platform in both situations based upon what the security requirements and network requirements are. And quite honestly, we've had success in both. So it really is kind of up to the customer. Cask and Stave, we are put together and structured to be able to support either type of deployment.
Yeah, it's good because we can take a store application, any of the application that is in the store, and provide it to an on-premise customer, even if they don't have that connectivity out of sight. And part of that is the certification process. So every application that a technology partner like Stave does get certified and tested by ServiceNow themselves. And also part of that is a process called scoping.
Yes.
So the applications are stored in their own container. That makes them easy to remove, easy to add in. It also means that an application can't contaminate other parts of your instance or break things. So it's an additional level of security there for that on-prem or in the cloud.
Right.
Sean, it's been great to chat with you today and to learn that side, the federal space, and what you have to offer there in the ServiceNow federal meld up. Great to hear about all the good things Cask is doing, and thanks for coming in. Really appreciate it. I know that your website is Cask LLC. You're based East Coast. You're in the DC area. Stave, we're based in San Diego. We have our headquarters here. StaveApps.com for us. Cask LLC for you. And otherwise, thanks for joining the webinar today. And feel free to reach out to either organization anytime.
Thank you.
Have a good day.